From struggle to stardom. Picture this, a kid in Puerto Rico sitting in his bedroom uploading songs to SoundCloud while working the night shift at a grocery store. Fast forward a few years, and that same person is selling out stadiums worldwide, breaking streaming records, and appearing on WWE wrestling matches in bunny ears. No, this isn't a fever dream. This is a story of Bad Bunny. And honestly, the whole thing is so ridiculous and beautiful that you couldn't make it up if you tried. Today, we're taking our time to walk through how Benito Martínez Ocasio went from bagging groceries to becoming one of the most streamed artists on the planet, and how, along the way, he completely rewrote the rules for what Latin music could be, what masculinity could look like, and what it meant to stay true to yourself in an industry that usually demands you become someone else. So settle in. This is going to take a minute, but trust me, it's worth it. The checkout line dreams. Let's rewind to 2016. Benito is 22 years old, living in Vega Baja, Puerto Rico, and spending his nights scanning groceries at a local Econo supermarket. During the day, he's supposed to be studying audio-visual communication at the University of Puerto Rico, but his heart is somewhere else entirely. Every chance he gets, he's making music, recording tracks on whatever equipment he can get his hands on, mixing them on his laptop, and then, like millions of other aspiring artists with big dreams and limited options, he's uploading them to SoundCloud. Now here's where it gets interesting, because Benito isn't trying to sound like anyone else. He's not attempting to recreate the reggaeton that's already popular. He's mixing genres like he's making a smoothie and just throwing whatever sounds good into the blender. Reggaeton, trap, bachata, dembow, rock. If it feels right, it goes in. His lyrics? They're raw. They're honest. They're about heartbreak and frustration and desire, but also about things that young people in Puerto Rico are actually dealing with. Not some sanitized, marketable version of life, but the real thing. And his voice. Oh, that voice. It's not technically perfect. It's a little rough around the edges, a little nasally, a little unconventional, which is exactly what made it perfect. The name Bad Bunny came from a childhood photo where he was dressed as a bunny and looked absolutely miserable about it, which honestly is very on brand for someone who would later turn grumpiness into an art form. But in 2016, he's still just a guy with a dream, working the late shift, probably wondering if any of this is actually going to go anywhere. Spoiler alert, it did. The tweet that changed everything. Enter DJ Luyan, a producer who's already made a name for himself in the reggaeton scene. One day, he's scrolling through Twitter, because apparently that's where dreams come true now, and he comes across Benito's song, Diles. He listens, he likes what he hears, and here's where the story gets beautifully simple. He reaches out. Within months, Bad Bunny is signed, Diles gets an official release, and suddenly the kid from the grocery store is getting millions of plays. Now, you might think this is where Benito would play it safe, clean up his image, smooth out those rough edges, become more marketable, do all the things that the music industry usually tells young artists to do. He did the exact opposite. He started wearing his nails painted. He wore skirts. He wore platform boots and oversized hoodies and jewelry that looked like it came from a really adventurous thrift store. He spoke openly about mental health, about depression, about the pressure of expectations, and when people tried to put him in a box, to label him, to categorize him, to make him fit into something they could understand, he just refused. Very politely, but very firmly refused. In interviews, when asked about his fashion choices, he'd just shrug and say something like, "Why can't I wear what I want? Who made these rules anyway?" Which is a question that sounds simple, but is actually kind of profound when you think about it. By 2018, he's everywhere. Collaborations with Cardi B on I Like It, which hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Features with Drake, Diplo, and pretty much everyone else who realized that this guy wasn't just a trend, he was the future. But here's the thing that made Bad Bunny different. He never forgot where he came from. He kept singing in Spanish. He kept representing Puerto Rico. He kept being himself, even when being himself was weird and unpredictable and didn't fit any existing template. The pandemic pivot. Then 2020 happened. You remember 2020. We all remember 2020. The whole world shut down. Concerts were canceled, tours were postponed indefinitely. For most artists, it was a nightmare scenario. Bad Bunny? He released Yo Hago Lo Que Me Da La Gana, which stands for I Do Whatever I Want, a title that's very much on brand. The album became the highest charting all-Spanish language album ever on the Billboard 200. Then, just a few months later, he dropped another album, Las Que No Iban a Salir, which translates to The Ones That Weren't Going to Come Out. Just surprise released it on a Sunday in May because why not? And then in November, he released El Último Tour del Mundo, making him the first artist with an all-Spanish language album to reach #1 on the Billboard 200. 3 albums in 1 year, during a global situation that made music production incredibly difficult. Each one successful, each one different from the last. It was like watching someone play a video game on the hardest difficulty setting and still somehow winning. But beyond the numbers and the records, something else was happening. Bad Bunny was using his platform to speak up about Puerto Rican politics, about the island's corrupt governor who he helped protest against in 2019, about gender violence, about LGBTQ+ rights. He wore a shirt on The Tonight Show that said, "They killed Alexa, not a man in a skirt," honoring Alexa, a transgender woman who was murdered in Puerto Rico. He used his music video for Yo Perreo Sola to highlight violence against women, ending it with the message, "Call the authorities if you witness abuse." This wasn't performative. This was someone who understood that visibility comes with responsibility. The stadium tour era. By 2022, Bad Bunny wasn't just successful, he was a phenomenon. Un Verano Sin Ti became the most streamed album globally on Spotify. Not Latin album, not Spanish language album. Album, period. His world tour sold out stadiums in minutes, and we're not talking about small venues. We're talking about places like Yankee Stadium, where he performed for sold-out crowds 2 nights in a row. People who didn't speak Spanish were singing along to every word, even if they didn't know what the words meant. They just felt it, because good music transcends language, and authenticity transcends culture. He started acting, appearing in the movie Bullet Train with Brad Pitt. He showed up at WWE events, not as a celebrity guest, but as someone who genuinely loved wrestling and wasn't afraid to take a few bumps in the ring. He won a Grammy for Best Música Urbana Album. And through it all, he maintained this air of, yeah, this is cool, but I'm still just me. There's something almost zen about his approach to fame. He doesn't seem to want it for its own sake. He seems to want it as a tool to do interesting things, to help people, to push boundaries, and to open doors for others. So what exactly did Bad Bunny change? For one, he proved that you don't need to sing in English to dominate global charts. He showed that Latin music wasn't some niche genre that needed to be contained in its own separate category. It was just music, period. He challenged ideas about masculinity in a traditionally macho genre. He wore skirts and painted nails and spoke about his feelings and somehow became more popular, not less. He showed young men that strength and vulnerability aren't opposites. He remained loyal to Puerto Rico, consistently using his platform to advocate for the island, to support local artists, to shine a light on issues that affect his community. He didn't move to Miami or Los Angeles to make it. He made it on his own terms from where he was. And perhaps most importantly, he proved that you could be successful without compromising yourself. Every weird fashion choice, every unpredictable musical turn, every political statement, it all felt genuine because it was genuine. The music industry wants to create stars. Bad Bunny showed that sometimes the best thing you can create is just space for someone to be themselves. From a grocery store checkout line to the biggest stages in the world, from a SoundCloud upload to making history, from Benito to Bad Bunny to a cultural force that changed what was possible. The story is still being written. There will be more albums, more tours, more moments where he does something unexpected and everyone collectively goes, "Of course he did." But maybe the most important part of the Bad Bunny story isn't about him at all. It's about everyone who heard his music, saw him being unapologetically himself, and thought, maybe I can do that too. Because in the end, the biggest game he changed wasn't in the music industry. It was in showing people that the game itself has no rules except the ones you accept. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is just decide you're not playing by those rules anymore. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What's your favorite Bad Bunny moment? And if you're still scanning groceries or uploading tracks to SoundCloud or working towards your own